Omar lived in a small village at the edge of a vast desert. The sun beat down, and the wind whispered secrets through the dunes. One day Omar wandered farther than usual. He kicked at the sand, sending little puffs into the air. Omar stumbled upon something buried in the sand. It was a lamp, old and dusty. He picked it up and rubbed it with his sleeve. A plume of purple smoke erupted from the lamp. The smoke swirled and twisted, taking the shape of a giant. It had fiery eyes and a booming voice. Omar was taken aback, but he stood his ground. "Greetings," the giant boomed. "I am a Djinn. You have awakened me from my slumber, and I grant you 3 wishes. Omar's heart pounded in his chest. 3 wishes. Anything he wanted could be his. He thought of all the things he could wish for. Mountains of gold, a palace made of jewels, a fleet of ships. But then he thought of his village. They were struggling, the wells were dry, and the crops had withered. I wish for my village to be prosperous," Omar declared. "I wish for the wells to overflow with water and for the land to be fertile again." The Djinn regarded Omar with surprise. Most beings wished for selfish things, yet this boy thought of others first. "So be it," the Djinn boomed. The air shimmered and a feeling of peace settled over the land. When Omar returned, he found his village transformed. The wells overflowed with fresh water, the fields were green and bursting with life. The villagers danced with joy, their faces lit by hope. Omar's heart swelled with happiness. News of Omar's good fortune spread like wildfire. It reached the ears of his uncle, Zaid, a greedy and envious man. Zaid stormed into Omar's home, his face contorted in a mask of anger and desire. "The lamp! You found a magic lamp!" he exclaimed. Zaid's eyes gleamed with avarice. He didn't care about the village or its people. All he cared about was wealth and power. He snatched the lamp from Omar's hand. Section 5. The Midas Touch. "I wish for everything I touch to turn to gold," Zaid cried, his voice trembling with excitement. The Djinn appeared, his expression grave. He knew the dangers of greed, but a wish was a wish. "So be it," the Djinn intoned. Zaid laughed, ecstatic. He touched a chair and it transformed into gleaming gold. He touched a plate of dates, and they too turned to cold, hard metal. His laughter died in his throat as he realized he could no longer eat. Section 6. A mountain of dates. Zaid, desperate and famished, went to grab Omar's arm. He needed to stop this, to reverse the wish. But as soon as his hand made contact, Omar was enveloped in a blinding light. When it faded, Omar stood before him, unharmed, but surrounded by a mountain of dates, the sweet smell filling the air. Zaid stared in disbelief. He had wished for gold, and Omar, it seemed, had wished for dates. It was a simple wish, yet in that moment it mocked Zaid's greed. He had everything and nothing all at once. Omar looked at his uncle with pity. He knew Zaid had learned a valuable lesson that day. Greed only led to suffering. True wealth came from kindness and helping others. He approached his uncle and offered him a date. Zaid looked at the date, then at Omar. He had been so blinded by greed that he had forgotten the simple pleasure of a sweet, juicy date. He had forgotten the value of family and compassion. Tears welled up in his eyes as he realized the error of his ways. The villagers, witnessing Zaid's transformation, understood the folly of greed. They gathered around Omar, their hearts full of gratitude. They had learned that true wealth wasn't measured in gold or possessions, but in the bonds of family, the generosity of spirit, and the joy of sharing. Omar, the young boy who had wished for the prosperity of his village, had inadvertently taught them a far greater lesson. He had shown them that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in the richness of their community and the compassion in their hearts. The Djinn, observing the transformation in Zaid and the newfound wisdom of the villagers, smiled. He had witnessed countless wishes in his time, but rarely had he seen one that brought about such profound change. "You have used your wishes wisely, young Omar," he boomed, his voice echoing through the village. "I bid you farewell." With a final swirl of purple smoke, the Djinn disappeared. The lamp in Omar's hand felt warm, a silent reminder of the magical encounter and the valuable lessons learned. The villagers, forever changed by Omar's selfless wishes, vowed to live by the principles of kindness and generosity. Years passed and the village flourished. The memory of Omar's wishes became a cherished tale passed down through generations. It served as a constant reminder that true happiness came not from selfish desires, but from acts of kindness, compassion, and the understanding that the greatest wealth lay in the well-being of all. Omar, no longer a boy but a wise young man, continued to be guided by the lessons he had learned from the Djinn. He understood that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in the richness of experience, the strength of community, and the enduring power of a kind and selfless heart.